Welcome to the Golf Report podcast. I'm joined by Morgan Smith, sophomore at Georgia, and one of the top golfers from New England. She's from Westford, Massachusetts. Morgan, thank you for your time and how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, glad to talk with you're obviously one of the top golfers in all of New England, so glad to be able to chat today. You're just coming off of Darius Rucker tournament. I couldn't go. I wanted to like to go because my grandmother lives like 30 minutes or so from Hilton Head, but maybe another year I'll get to go. But anyway, just tell me about, getting to play in Darius Rucker's tournament. I know I was watching on, TV. I was on the Golf Channel. I saw that, the final day, Wednesday, you guys had, you were suspended due to weather. You dealt with some weather. I know Tuesday wasn't such great weather. So just tell me about the tournament, how it went, and how it was, dealing with the, not so great weather you had in Hilton Head.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great golf tournament. Everything was run super well. It's probably one of the coolest
Yeah,
golf tournaments, especially college golf tournaments I've ever played in. There was lots of spectators. Golf Channel was there. So that part of it was really cool. So we played at Long Cove. That course is great.
yeah,
But it's a test of golf for sure. We were playing like 6,400 almost. And they made the pins pretty tricky too. So lag putting was for sure important.
mhm,
And then, yeah, all 3 days wind was another factor, especially the final day. It was gusting pretty close to 50 miles per hour. So yeah, I mean, my team, I think we had a pretty strong event. We beat some really great schools, so that was exciting. And kind of a little bit of a confidence builder heading into, the rest of our championship season and, hopefully postseason. Um, but yeah, and then the final day we had two weather delays. The first one was just because there was too much rain on the golf course, so then they had to take us off and then try to fix the greens a little bit. And then the second one there was thunder in the area. So the third round probably took over 7 hours to finish, start to end.
right.
Um, with just lots of, lots of thinking on the golf course, especially a course like that.
Yeah, I know. Watching on TV, you had some bad weather Wednesday morning. Then Wednesday afternoon, I was watching. It was very blue skies and sunny. So my next question is, you're from Massachusetts. I'm sure you're used to very bad weather. How do you navigate or how do you deal with when you're playing weather's not great or ideal. Just how do you navigate that? I'm sure you have a lot of experience playing bad weather. Growing up in Massachusetts.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just kind of have to have a good mindset about it and know that everyone's playing the same golf course and facing the
Mhm.
same challenges that you are with the wind and with the rain. So just really taking it one shot at a time and still, having confidence and, believing that you can hit every shot. I do think there's a little bit of like a strategic element that like you can play a little bit more conservative and kind of let the birdies come and just try to make your pars, especially on a golf course like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, and then especially when the wind is as strong as it is, you kind of have to hit more lower shots and more controlled shots and just get used to hitting clubs that you wouldn't normally hit from that number, whether it's like having to hit a club that goes 20 yards further than the number you're looking at, or,
Yeah,
the other way too, having to play it like 15 yards less and just trust that number.
yeah. With this tournament, you mentioned it's one of the best run tournaments. It was on the Golf Channel, and you had a concert by Darius Rucker. So with those things, when you get more exposure, from a player's perspective, what does it mean? Just general for college golf, because college golf, I feel like that's why I do this YouTube channel. I don't feel like it gets a ton of exposure. So when you do get things like getting to be on the golf channel and the sport from someone like Darius Rucker, just what does that mean? For you as a player and just general for college golf, and you get more exposure, getting to be on TV.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes me feel a lot of gratitude. Getting to do some really cool things makes you pretty grateful for the position you're in,
Yep.
and it really gives you the opportunity to recognize the privilege that we have as college golfers and the doors that it opens for us. So yeah, just lots of gratitude. And just really it gives you a better perspective and lets you kind of enjoy the moment a little bit more because it's like, yes, this is a hard golf tournament and I'm surrounded by a lot of great golfers. But just looking around and kind of getting to enjoy the scenery, enjoy the people that are so excited to be out there watching you play golf. I think that's what makes it pretty cool.
Yeah, and for my next question, I've been um looking in, I follow college golf a lot, and your team at Georgia, compared to a lot of teams at least, seems like your team plays a lot, even just this spring already, you've been to Mexico and you've been to San Diego and Hilton Head, your next tournament's gonna be in Chattanooga,
Mhm.
Tennessee. And even in, the fall, your team was, over, playing in Illinois and you went to the Bahamas. So compared to a lot of teams, I see your team at Georgia plays a lot. So what's it like, for you? Do you like, that your team, it seems like plays a lot of tournaments and, traveling all around, how is that for you and how do you, deal with, do you like, getting to travel around and play a lot or, can it be difficult at times? How is that for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think playing tournament golf is one of the best things you can do to test your golf game and see where you're
Mhm.
at and see where
Yep.
you need to improve. So I think from that aspect, it's the best thing that you can do. Put yourself in opportunities to learn.
Okay.
Um, I also think it's really just incredible to be able to travel to the places that we've gotten to go, see so many beautiful courses, spend time with such a great group of people,
Yeah.
meet so many new people. And I think that that is also like just another great part of college golf. I think that the challenges come in just with, time management and how much you're going to miss school. So just having to kind of keep up with that would probably be just the biggest challenge.
Yeah. And you mentioned you just played at Darius Rucker, and that was one of the best run tournaments. But you played in another very good tournament in Guadalajara, Mexico. Um, I know that's a unique tournament. You get caddies there. It's I've obviously never been there, but I just heard it's a very well run tournament. You get caddies. It's unique in that most college tournaments are either 3 days of 18 holes or 36, 18, but that tournament's 27, 27 holes. So. Um, just tell me about that tournament, what it was like, going to Mexico, playing that tournament. And then also, how was it for you, now getting to most tournaments you playing or not, 27 holes, the first day and then 27 holes the second day. So how was that, playing, a different type of tournament, where it's, not your typical either 36 or 18 or, 3 days of 18 holes.
Yeah, I mean, I think Guadalajara was a really special place because
Hmm.
everyone that was there was just so excited that we were there and so excited to host an event like that. So that was another tournament that was just run incredibly well.
Hmm.
Um, so that was another great opportunity. I think when it comes to the 27 holes,
Yeah.
you have to just remind yourself that it's just golf. Because I do think it's a little tough to kind of go to bed that night still having to play half of your second rounds.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean that's kind of just a challenge that comes with a tournament like that. But yeah, I mean it's just golf and you go out there and then you finish that round and then you start the third round. So I mean nothing that we haven't done, especially like twice in the fall. I wasn't able to finish the 36 holes. So then you go out and you play one or two more holes and then you have to warm up all again to start your third round. So nothing that I feel like I wasn't prepared for, but just definitely a different setup.
Yeah. And another tournament I wanted to talk about, in the beginning of April, your team will have a home tournament, at the UGA golf course, the Liz Murphy. You
Mhm.
had an individual tournament, in January to start off your spring season. But anyway, just tell me a little bit about the UGA golf course, how it is for you and just, what do you think it'll be like, in April getting to play a, home tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited. It was
Mhm.
really cool to have a home tournament in January, and obviously this one is a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So it'll be cool to kind of be on our, home stomping grounds and have teams coming here and be able to sleep in our own bed. My family's also coming down to watch, so that'll be really exciting.
Okay.
Um, and then, I mean, just the UGA golf course, it's a great golf course. It's like a 5-minute drive from the dorm, so it's really nice that it's that close to campus. And it's a little bit hilly, but I think it favors a good ball striker who's a good putter, and I feel like those are things that I can be good at. So, I'm hoping for a good week that week, and I know my team's hoping for a good week because that is our last event before we head to the SEC championship. Um, and then I also just think having played that golf course as much as we have, I'm hoping my team can have a really strong showing.
Yeah, you mentioned UGA golf course being very hilly. It wasn't an interview that I did, but it was one I listened to. A college golfer, I think it was last year, said the UGA golf course is the hilliest golf course, they've ever played at. Um,
Yeah.
so for
Just a
you, yeah,
elevated green, so it can be like kind of blind, blind-ish shots because you can't really see the ball come
Yeah.
down.
But this gets to my next question, a lot of times in college golf, you're playing 36 whole days, you're out there for like about 10 hours. And even your home course is very hilly. So just how do you navigate, being out there playing, you know, most tournaments you play, 36 holes on the first day. So how is it, the 36 whole days and how do you navigate being out there for like, 9, 10 hours a day? Does it get very exhausting or, over the years have you, navigated it pretty well through your golf career so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big one is just staying patient. Like 36 holes is a lot of golf, and it's going to be
Mm.
filled with goods, it's going to be filled with bad shots,
Yeah.
and just really taking the time to enjoy the moment and take one shot at a time, and recognize that there's going to be a couple bad stretches and a couple good stretches, and just let it come. And then I think like coming to college, a big thing that I realized is how important nutrition is. Like 36 whole days are long days, and you need to eat and drink a lot of water throughout the round to stay in
Mm.
it. So just making sure you're eating at least like every 6 holes, really. Even if it's just like a bite of something like that, I mean, it really changes things. Um, and then I also feel like, especially coming to Georgia, the atmosphere with how the girls on the team interact with one another, whether it's like, sending a wave or, doing like a heart symbol, or we'll like throw fours sometimes. When you see your teammate just kind of give out energy and then it'll come back to you. So it makes those long days go by pretty
Yeah.
fast.
And I've talked to, some other college golfers, and obviously the theme of what I'm talking about for my next question is, the spring season obviously is very, it's very busy and jam-packed. A lot of golf and a lot of tournaments over, from end of January through, May if you make it all the way to the national championship. Even for your team, like we'll give an example, like you're playing your home tournament in April, you finish on Wednesday, and then your SEC championship. Conference championship will be, on that Monday. So, you finish your home term on Wednesday, and then, just a few days later, then you gotta, travel to Florida and maybe probably play a practice round and all that. So, anyway, the spring season is just, very for all college golf, it's very, busy and lots of golf in just a short few months. And so for you, how do you navigate, the spring season? This is your second, season of college golf. Just how do you navigate the spring season and playing lots of golf, in such a short time, and going from some tournaments, ending and then going to the next tournament just in a few days.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big thing with college golf and really any
Mhm.
sport at a high competitive level is you have to really love it and you have to remember why you love it.
Yeah.
Um, and I think for me, I'm fortunate enough to truly love the game of golf. So, yes, it is a lot of golf, but I am enjoying every minute of it. And that makes it a lot easier. And I don't think you could play this game at this level if you don't truly love it.
Mhm.
Um, So I think that that is a big thing. And then just with quick turnarounds, tournament to tournament, um, I really think like especially if you don't have the tournament you're looking for, it kind of needs to be like a okay, lesson learned, let's move on to the next one. And not sit and harp on the result of the previous one. Um, I do think it's helpful that, we'll kind of see where our games are at right before the SEC championship, because there's no better way to test it than playing a tournament. And then, hopefully you have those 2, 3 days before you head to Florida, where you can get in those, quick practices that you need to dial in the last couple things. And then, hopefully you can go out and play your best golf.
Yeah. So another thing, I've talked about to some college golfers who I've, interviewed is, college golf, you have the fall season that ends at the end of October, and then, you get a break for a few months, November, December, January, and then, most teams pick it up in February. Your team, had their first tournament at the end of January. So, you get a few months off from college golf tournaments. For you, right now, growing up in Massachusetts, this will be a two-part question, how do you navigate, and what how do you have you learned, the best, navigate, the break you get from college golf? Do you feel like it's better to, just take a break from tournaments? I've heard that from some players like Farrah O'Keefe, who I interviewed from Texas. She said, she was just prioritizing taking a break and not playing any tournaments for the 3 months in the
Mhm.
winter. And then I interviewed another player, Lauren Clark from Kansas, and she said, is important, and you got to keep competing even if it's only one tournament over the winter. So for you, do you think it's more important, to take a break and rest, or it's more important to keep competing and playing in the winter? Just how have you learned, to keep your game sharp over the winter, and just, how did you navigate that, growing up in Massachusetts?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm still learning about this each year,
Hmm.
especially as I kind of made a jump to an SEC school. Like there's not a lot of time. You can't really let your game get rusty. Um, so for me, I feel like it's important to take a little break, especially when I'm home in Massachusetts and there's not much golf and the courses are closed and the weather's bad.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like that's kind of when I let myself take the break, but I'm fortunate enough that my family does, we have a place that we can go to in Florida. So I spent like 2 weeks down there before I headed back to school in January. And I played the Orlando Am. So I think for me, I like to kind of get a tournament going to knock some rust off and get things rolling heading into the spring season. But I mean, every person is so different that,
Hmm.
something might work great for someone and not be the right way for someone else. So I think it's just up to the individual and figuring out what works best for them.
Yeah. So right now, over the winters, you don't go back to Massachusetts, you go to Florida. Is that correct?
No, so I split time. So I was in
Okay.
Massachusetts for like 3 weeks and then I went to Florida for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. So growing up in Massachusetts, over the winter, obviously there's, like 3, 4 months where you can't play outdoors. How would you play indoor golf? Just how would you, work in your golf game, growing up in Massachusetts over the winter?
Yeah, I actually, when I was younger, I just didn't touch a golf club in the winter,
Okay.
which probably isn't the best thing, but up until before COVID, I didn't play golf in the winter. And then when COVID happened, my family was in Florida for COVID. So we spent that whole winter down in Florida. And then, so that would have been my sophomore year of high school. And then my junior year of high school with online remote school, I spent probably like 4 or 5 months in Florida that year too. And then my senior year, when things went back to normal, I went to Florida as much as I could.
Mhm.
So I think that was really helpful. I think it's just really hard because as good as indoor facilities are, they just don't match being out on a golf course. Um, so yeah, I feel like when I'm home, I kind of try to enjoy the break, but when I have the opportunities to go to Florida, I take them.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. One of the top players in New England yourself, just wanted to touch the club over the winter. So that is definitely very interesting. I want to talk about transferring and transfer portal. You started last year you were at Georgetown. Now you're at
Mhm.
Georgia. You transferred, after your freshman, year last year. Tell me a little bit about, anything you can. You don't need to share too much if you don't want to, but just, why did you transfer? Just how was the transfer process to you? And, what drew you to Georgia? I've heard, just doing these interviews that, the transferring is definitely, it's very difficult. You're putting your name out there and, you don't know if, 10 different coaches are going to contact you or, you know, no one's going to contact you. So just, tell me a little bit about, transferring and just, what drew you to, Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the transfer portal comes risk, and
Yeah.
I kind of got to the point at the end of after the Big East championship last year. Um, I kind of wanted to see if better golf was an opportunity for me. So I made the decision to put my name in the portal, which was scary, 100%. Um, and so the portal for women's golf opens May 1st. And so I had a conversation with compliance prior to that. So I was put in the portal right when it opens. And
Mhm.
from the beginning, actually, I'm really fortunate to have I had a pretty overwhelming amount of interest. So that was something that was really nice. And then for me, things that were important in transferring was I wanted to have a golf course that was much closer to campus. That was just something that was kind of a challenge at Georgetown, just with the golf course was probably like 45 minutes away.
Okay.
I wanted a course that was closer and I could have unlimited access to be able to practice and play whenever I wanted. And then being surrounded by teammates who want to continue to get better and potentially play at the next level, that was something that I wanted too, because I feel like being surrounded by people who want something just as bad as you, it's just it's an environment that pushes you and can help you get to the next level. And then I still wanted to go to a school with strong business program. So the Terry College of Business here is has a great reputation and still is a great school. And then I wanted coaches who really supported me and believed in my dreams as much as me. And I was really lucky to find that at a program like Georgia with, such a strong and rich golf history. My coaches this year are actually new, so this is their first year at the University of Georgia. So, um, Georgia kind of came into the picture a little bit later just because they were at the University of South Florida, and I had had a
Yeah,
conversation with them, but just for a couple reasons, I wasn't going to choose to go to South Florida. And then, I was trying to make the decision. And then when they had found out that they got the coaching job at Georgia, they had reached back out to me and, offered me a position. So once they offered me, it was kind of a no-brainer for me. But yeah, I mean, for sure, the transfer portal is a scary decision, but I also think it's one that can be really, really rewarding if you put in
yeah,
enough work and you put your game in a position that, um, you feel is good enough to be set up for success. Um, so yeah, and I also think the portal is it's a great way for college athletes to be able to make a different decision if they realize that their first decision was not the right one.
yeah, yeah. I heard that. What you just said is that the transfer portal allows if it's not a good fit, your first school, you're able to put your name out there and then hopefully try another school. So that's what I've heard. You just mentioned my next question. Obviously you play for Coach Erica and Coach Stevens at Georgia. They're in their first season.
Mhm.
Um, so for you, they're in their first season at Georgia. I feel like we're almost taking a risk. They're obviously great coaches. They played very well. They did very well at South Florida, but for you, and your team has a few transfers. I noticed, yourself, Chantal. Um, so just, tell me, what makes, Coach Erica and Stevens, very good coaches and what drew you to, play for them. You mentioned you were talking to them when they were at South Florida, then they took the job at Georgia. So just what drew you to transfer and, play for them? And, what makes them good coaches? What do you think led, multiple of your players, transfer play for them in their first season?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, something that kind of stood out for me is they wanted me for me. I
Hmm.
feel like at times I can feel like I get overlooked because I have a sister who's really good at golf too.
Yeah.
That was for sure something that when I was in the portal, I wanted a coach who wanted me for me and my accolades, and not because they saw that my sister was an All-American last year and they were hoping that I could maybe be one too. So they really made me feel wanted for who I am and the player that they saw and the player that they believe I can be, and not for any other reason. And that to me meant the world. Also, just with them, they are filled with unwavering support. And I feel like that is not something that you get with every coach. They want you to do your best and they want you to play well, but they're not gonna put overly pressure on you to do something special, and they're not gonna be mad at you if you have a bad round. They are really big on treating us like people, and I think that that is huge. So they lead with kindness and compassion, and I think they foster a really great environment.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I was just interested in learning, because, you know, following college golf, I heard that, I saw that a lot of, there was a lot of transfers to Georgia in their first season. So it's great.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk next about academics. You went to Georgetown. There's about, you know, Georgetown's a great school. My mom went there, it was 40 years ago. But anyway, my point is that, Georgetown's a great school. Has about around a 10% acceptance rate. So obviously you're good. You're very good at academics. You're a finance major. Tell me about just the priority you put on academics. How are you able to balance academics and play a full Division I schedule? Because like this past week, you probably missed 3 days of school. Playing at the Darius Rucker. Missed Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So just tell me about the priority you put on your academics, because majoring finance, and just how you're able to balance playing a full Division I schedule and balancing your academics.
Yeah, I mean, we got a little lucky this week. This week was actually our spring break, so I didn't miss any school.
Okay.
Um, But I think that's also something that's really cool about Georgia is the academic resources they have. So you can have tutors in whatever class you need. We also have an academic advisor who helps build our schedules and gets us in classes with professors that are um, that will work with you with, missing class and, extending deadlines potentially if that is something that you need. And just who want to see their student athletes do well in the classroom as well. So I think that that is something that has been huge. I also just like school was very important to me in high school. And I wanted to go to a strong academic school, and that was kind of my initial hope, get into a school that can, be a greater academic opportunity than I would have been able to do without golf. So that's kind of initially why I chose Georgetown. Um, but I truly love the game of golf, and I think that this is something that I could see myself doing in the future, and I just want to give myself the best opportunity to do that. With that being said, I know how hard it is to make it professionally, which is why it's important to me to still have a strong education. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's just really about, you know, finding that good time management balance that can be hard.
Yeah. So you're from Westford, Massachusetts. Now I want to talk about, growing up in Massachusetts. So tell me about, growing up in Massachusetts, just how you got started playing golf and where you would, play, growing up in Massachusetts.
Yeah, I mean, so I play golf at a couple courses back home. I play at Vesper Country Club, Mount Pleasant Golf Club, and Long Meadow
Okay.
Golf Club. So they're all kind of in the Lowell, Tingsboro area. Um, and those three clubs actually they're involved in a tournament called the Lowell Cities. So when I was growing up, my dad played professional golf too. He's got his amateur status back. But when I was growing up, I
Okay.
watched him play in this tournament called the Cities. And he won 7 years in a row when I was between the ages like 5 and 10 or 12 or whatever the ages were, something like that. And I just saw how cool it was that he was able to do these things, and so many people came to watch. And then when I really first wanted to get involved in the game of golf is when my sister Molly qualified for the drive, chip, and putt at Augusta National. That was the first time that I saw the opportunities that golf can give you, and I was like, I want to do that too. So after I saw her, putt on the 18th green of Augusta National, have her name be on the big leaderboard behind the 18th green, that was when I really decided that I wanted to be a golfer. And yeah, I mean, since then I've just been playing as much as I can.
Yeah. You mentioned you have two sisters, Molly and Maddie. Molly plays at UCF, so just tell me about, growing up and playing with them and also, what's it like, seeing them, have success in golf and, playing well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been really cool since coming to college, especially with Molly being so close in age, being able to see
Mhm.
how well she's done. And I mean, we were definitely kind of rivals growing up, so we were able to push each other, which I think, I think it helped us, but I think it was hard in the moment for sure. And there are still times that are still hard. Like last year's Mass Am, we were paired against each other in the semifinals. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's moments like that that are tough because we both want it so, so, so bad. Um, but I think at the end of the day, we recognize how special it is to have, and like I'm lucky enough that I have two sisters that do it. And um, like I feel like a really rewarding one was when we all actually played last year's USAM. So myself, Molly, and Maddie played at Southern Hills, and that was just really cool. They think it was the first time in history that three sisters ever did that, so that was pretty cool. But they know how hard that they know how hard I work. I know how hard they work. And it's really cool to be able to do that together and then always have a travel buddy when you're traveling to tournaments. So you always have someone to play a practice round with.
Yeah.
Always have someone that will listen to you complain about your round or the bad shots you hit and listen to the good ones too. So I think it's just really cool to have someone that you can relate to on that level.
You mentioned, but for my next question, but this past year, Massam, you won, and in the semifinals, you played against Molly. That went to, I believe, 20 holes. So, you've had multiple, times, throughout your golf career, in New England, like even 2023 New England, women's amateur, you beat Molly by one stroke. So, whether it be, let's talk about the Massam this past year. Um,
Mhm.
for that, how were you feeling, going into the semifinals, having to play Molly? Was it, were you feeling like, oh, you know, not great, having to play Molly, or were you excited for the opportunity? And just, how did that match go? And then also, 2023 New England Women's Amateur, I wanted to talk about. You won by one shot over Molly. Were you more happy in that instance that you won, or were you more, sad for Molly that, she saw the final round of 75 that she didn't play, the final round that, she would have hoped for?
Yeah. I mean, I think when it comes to it, we both want to win so bad.
Mhm.
And I think the bigger thing though is we want to beat each other playing at our best and them playing at their best too. So I mean, like the New England Am say, yeah, like it's unfortunate that Molly had a final round 75.
Mhm.
But I mean, I was still happy I won. Like that's it's just kind of it's golf, you never know what to expect. I think this year's Mass Am was a little bit different because she obviously had such a strong freshman year at UCF, and we played like the Elite Am series, and she beat me in pretty much every single one we played except maybe one of them. So when it came to the Mass Am, I think I'd only beat her in two events that whole summer, and we play tournaments basically every single week.
Yeah,
um so for sure, like that, like being paired with her in match play, I was a little bit nervous.
yeah,
Because there's nothing truly like the adrenaline of playing against your sister. Like I don't even know how to explain it. It's like a level up. Like it's just nothing matches it. Um, and then of course for it to go 20 holes when I think both of our matches, I don't think any other one got past like 14 or 15 holes. So for it to be that close, that tight of a match, um, I mean that was a really, really good golf match. Yeah, I mean, just to talk about it a little bit, I was up early and then she birdied 9, 10, and 11. And then I made like a 50-foot bomb of a putt that like you would just be hoping to lag close on the 13th hole.
mhm,
She made an insane up and down from the bunker on 14 to flat me. I made a good birdie when she had pressure. She was gonna be in for par. I made like a 20-footer on 16. We both made good pars on 17. I made like a 5-footer to flatter um on 18, then heading to the playoff holes. I had to tap in birdie and she had to make like a 10-footer. And then we both had long putts on the final hole and she just wasn't able to match mine. And that's kind of what ended it. So I mean, just it was a really, really good golf match.
yeah,
And I mean, I was lucky enough to be on the good side of it this time, but for sure with Molly, she's gonna win, I'm gonna win. It's gonna go back and forth. But yeah, I would for sure say she's like one of my biggest competitors.
yeah. Yeah, I'm sure the feeling was a little bit different, probably even better, this year's past Matt Sam, because you both, were playing very good golf, and the match was very competitive. Whereas, the 2023 New England Sam, the feeling was probably, I would think different, just because Molly didn't play the final round. She would have liked, the last, from hole 8 on, wasn't, probably what she would have hoped for. But you know that's great that you both push each other, and have great competition. And all that. So for my next question, you've won multiple New England amateurs and you've won multiple Massachusetts amateurs. Growing up in Massachusetts, the golf community is so tight. Just what does it mean, that you've won these big tournaments, and you've had so much success, throughout New England golf?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really special. The first Mass Am, I actually won Pat Bradley, who's also from Westford, Massachusetts, I mean, she's an LPGA legend. She
Mhm.
actually sent me like a little card, and was like, from one Westford Academy where I went to high school grad to another, congratulations.
Oh yeah, I think I
Um,
heard of that. Yeah,
so I
very
thought
cool.
that was really cool.
Mhm.
Um, and then I mean, just like being from Massachusetts and like New England, I feel like the Mass Am is like the biggest golf tournament that you can win.
Mhm.
Um, so to have won that twice, I think is really special. And like those are for sure days I'm gonna remember the rest of my life.
Yeah,
So I think that's just really cool. But I also think what's really special about Massachusetts is just like the Mass golf community and the world that's up there. Everyone knows everyone, and those are some of my best friends. And um, everyone really wants to see each other do well. And then again, I also think what's cool about the Mass golf world is how um how connected everyone is, and like they have started these amazing foundations like the We Met Scholarship Foundation to really help see these golfers do well, and they want to get more and more people involved in the game of golf. And I think that that is what golf is all about, is bringing people together.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask my next question. The New England Women's Amateur. I don't know if you're going to play it this year, but it's at Haverhill Country Club. Just tell me, have you ever played at Haverhill, um, or have you never played there before?
Ooh. I actually don't think I have played at Haverhill before.
Okay.
Um,
Or just tell me, what do you, since you haven't played at Haverhill, just what do you think it'll be like to have, New England Women's Amateur, in Massachusetts? Because I know it, goes to, all, different New England state, every year.
yeah, I mean, I think it's really cool that it's going to be in Massachusetts this year. I played it since it's been in Massachusetts, and Haverhill is actually only like 30 max minutes away from where I live. So it's really close to home, which is nice. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to play just because it falls the same week as the North-South Amateur.
Okay.
Um, and I think I'm going to be playing in that one instead. But yeah, I mean, it's a great golf tournament, and I'm excited to see how my friends do.
Yeah. Even though you won't be playing, still be cool to, have the New England Amateur in Massachusetts.
Yeah, for sure.
A few more things we've talked about, a few more questions I wanted to ask. You meant, and I've heard the Massachusetts golf community is very close. So tell me, were there any other golfers, outside of Molly and Maddie that you grew up, like playing junior golf with, or if you're just up in Massachusetts, anyone else you get to, any friends you've made through golf or anyone else you've grown up, playing with?
Yeah, I mean, some of my best friends in the golf world would be like Mackenzie Whitney, Christine Mandel, Grace Farland. Yeah, those are, and then I mean everyone's friends too, like Emma Abrahamson. At the Mass Am this year is out at Williams, and she brought us all to dinner. There was probably a group of like 20 of us. Um, so that was really, really fun. And just kind of, we got to do something that was away from the golf course. So I mean everyone knows each other, and it's really cool to be a part of something like that and have known people since, you were like 13, 14 years old. And I remember we all grew up playing US Challenge Cup together, and we'd be walking down fairways, singing songs, and like just being kids because we were so young. And like it's times like that that you'll really, treasure forever.
Yeah. So two more questions I wanted to ask. First one is, you use the long putter. I've noticed that. I've seen you play a few times in person. So, tell me about, how did you end up using the long putter, and just tell me about, using the long putter, because not a lot of golfers do. There's a few, professionals who do. I know Bernhard Langer, just
Yeah.
one that comes to mind, but yeah, just tell me about how you ended up using the long putter, and just, how that is for you.
Yeah. I mean, my dad actually puts with a broomstick,
Okay.
and so he has a couple of them. I think he has like four or five. And a couple years ago, I was putting with the spider, and it just was not going well. So my dad was like, "Here, try this putter," and we played around a golf, and I putted very, very good that round. And since that round, I just haven't let it go.
Yeah, that's great. So for my final question, I'm just interested to know, tell me a little bit about, just what golf means to you, and, more specifically, tell me about, you grew up in Massachusetts, the winters are, a lot of snow and, cold and dark. And so just what kept you, interested, and, just what kept you, playing golf in Massachusetts, given that, the weather it's not, Florida or even Georgia where you're at school now. Just what kept you, interested in, playing golf, even though, you know, like you mentioned in this interview, there's a few months out of the year where, you don't touch a club throughout the winter. Just what kept you, throughout, the winters, just keep, interested in playing golf.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm biased, but I think the really cool thing about New England golf is how beautiful the golf courses are. And
Mhm.
a lot of them are older, and they just have that architecture that a lot of courses in the South just don't match, in my opinion. So I think that that is something that's really cool. Like there are just some great, great golf courses in Massachusetts. And then also just golf means so much to me. Like it's truly a game that everyone in my family is involved in. and it's given me so many opportunities, and I feel really, really grateful and lucky to um, get to do the things that I get to do and travel the places that I get to do and meet the people that I get to meet. Um, so yeah, I'm really grateful for everything golf has done for me.